Welcome to the Nerdist Podcast number 924, the old end of the year podcast. We'll get to that in a second. This episode brought to you by Squarespace. Hey, do you have big plans for the new year? Do you want to make it easier, turn your idea into a unique website? Well, you can do that, showcase your work, your blog, any kind of content that you have, sell products, services, whatever you want in just a few clicks. Customize everything from look and feel, beautiful templates by world-class designers using Squarespace. There's nothing to install, patch, or upgrade ever. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial. When you're ready to launch, use the offer code Nerdist to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Well, it's the old end of the year podcast. Nerdist Podcast 2017. Ended off with a Hostful podcast. My wife is stifling laughter over here because we're watching Naked and Afraid for like the past 2 days. I'm sorry, Liz. What did you say that the podcast outro should be from now on? Stop. No. What did you say it should be? I think you should tell everyone this snazzy idea of yours to end the podcast. Instead of saying enjoy your burrito, what should we say from now on?
Munch those tacos.
Great idea. What a fantastic idea. Does it have any philosophical meaning that people need to understand?
Just remember.
To what?
Please edit this out.
No, honey, we're gonna munch those tacos and leave it in. This is taco munching. It's just leaving shit in the way it happens. All right, so this is from the Nerdist Community Corkboard. John D. Harrison writes, my book, Mastering the Game, What Video Games Can Teach Us About Success in Life, takes a look at how the same habits and principles that lead to success in video games can be applied to personal and business success. It's like Ready Player One, but can help you get promoted. This book is packed with video game analogies. It references over 150 games and important personal development lessons. It also led to a TEDx talk, How Video Games Empower Real-World Success, available in paperback and on Kindle through Amazon.com. Also, Andrew writes, a few years ago, I rescued my newest pack member, Ranger, who destroyed toys very quickly. I had tried other subscription dog boxes, but their toys were always trashed within minutes. Frustrated with this, I was able to save some money and start Chomp Box, a monthly subscription box service made for super chewer dogs. Every month, you're going to bag of healthy and yummy dog treats and durable toy made for tough pups. For more info or to sign up for a subscription, visit chompboxmonthly.com.
It's kind of like
all right, thank you. All right, that's enough. Yeah, no, that was a complete coincidence. Those two things are not related. All right. Just keep playing Skyrim. Lydia's playing Skyrim. She's a werewolf. She's like at level 30 now. Andrew, I hope you understand the coincidental juxtaposition of Munch Those Tacos and Chomp Box. Yeah, well, he's not saying chomp that box. He's saying it's just Chomp Box.
Right,
sorry.
I misunderstood.
It's for tough pups who really want to chomp that box. They can chomp the box once a month. Andrew, you should be writing this down. This type of ad copy is Sterling Cooper Draper Price worthy. All right, so this is the Hostful 2017. People say it would never happen anymore, but it did. And, really, a lot of it's pinning Matt Mira down these days. Matt might be the busiest one of us three. And so, but as I always say, every time we get together I get together with these guys, we always talk about how we want to do this more and more. And so we will try. I know Matt's got After Trek in the new year for a couple months, but I'm around, Jonah's around, and we'll get this shit going again. I promise. But what an incredible year. What a heartbreaking year in some senses. What an insane year for us work-wise. Matt and Jonah in particular, and a lot of ups and downs. We called this episode Peaks and Valleys. You'll understand why when you listen to the episode, but it just makes me realize I need to hang out with these guys more. And even though it seems like the world is a dismal place, there are still bright rays of sunshine beaming in through the shit clouds here and there. And so hopefully you remember that now, and maybe just take a minute and write down all the things that you accomplished this year. Write down the things you're thankful for. Write down, anything positive that you're feeling about this year. Even if you don't think there is anything positive, just pretend maybe there's a positive thing. And then, on another list, write down what you want to accomplish and build on that stuff for next year and what you want to see and manifest. So, it just helps when you write that stuff down. You see it in the material world. It just gives you a little bit of purpose and direction. So in any case, I hope you had a wonderful year. I want to thank you again for supporting another year of the podcast, going into year 8, which is very hard to believe that we're approaching a decade. And this is it. And I also want to tell you that this episode was brought to you by Casper. Casper Mattresses. It's a sleep brand that continues to revolutionize the products that they create for exceptionally comfortable sleep experiences, one night at a time. So they have 3 mattress models: the original Casper, the Wave, the Essential. Casper mattresses are perfectly designed to soothe and cradle your natural geometry. Not to mention, the breathable design helps you sleep cool and regulates your body temperature throughout the night. And it's delivered right to your door in a small little package that you're going to go, how is this possible? But it is possible. And it's free shipping and returns in the U.S. and Canada. That's free too. But the best part is you get 100 nights risk-free to sleep on it. And if you don't like it, you send it back. That is it. Got one of these from my mom, and she loves it. Moms can be very picky, and my mom loves the Casper mattress. So start sleeping ahead of the curve with Casper. $50 towards any mattress purchase by visiting casper.com/Nerdist. Use Nerdist at checkout. That's casper.com/Nerdist. Offer code Nerdist, 50% off your mattress purchase. Terms and conditions apply. And now here's the Nerdist Podcast, episode number 920. Hostful. Peaks and valleys. Munch those tacos. Why are you silently?
I don't want to interrupt you. Taco munch.
Thank you. That's what an understanding wife you are.
Now entering Nerdist.com.
I'm not making the playoffs 5 and 7.
Crazy Hostful Podcast.
Nice.
Jonah's here sipping a coffee. Matt smells like clove cigarettes.
That can't be.
They're talking about spurts.
Are you not telling people that he smokes?
No, it's
really
common
They
knowledge.
talk about sports.
That's why.
They were talking about sports.
Chris, you can hide it on a podcast.
I don't know if it's the kind of thing you like sneak out to do it.
No. My wife, much to my wife's chagrin. Yeah.
When are you going to stop doing that?
Pretty soon.
I hope so.
I always say.
There's that movie Lady Bird. There's a joke in there about cloves, and I thought of you.
Now, you said that was your favorite movie of the year so
It
far.
might be. It's on the top. It's going to be in the top 10 of my favorite movies of the year. Maybe
Yeah.
top 5. But Lady Bird is great.
Well, Star Wars hasn't come out yet, bro.
That's true. Yeah, someone gave me. We did a Mr. Science Theater soundtrack signing at Amoeba, and someone gave me like a Porg. Stuffed Porg
that's so
thing.
funny.
And I go, it's like, how are we to know if this could easily be the next Jar Jar? Everyone's buying all this Porg stuff. Like, no one's buying Jar Jar stuff before the movie.
It is a
came out.
little premature porging, right?
You know what,
Yes.
though? You got to say, if the Porgs don't really have any effect, that's the problem.
They're still cute.
If they're hated, then it's still kind of good, because then the hipsters get to then they get to be like a hipster hero. Like, isn't this funny? Everyone hates this character.
But no one did that for Jar Jar.
No, but that was before social media.
That's true.
So I think if Jar Jar came out now, and first of all, there'd be a cancel Jar Jar hashtag.
Yes.
How do you cancel something in a movie?
People don't really think when they create these
Sure.
hashtags.
Hashtag Gungan appropriation.
Yeah, they just think, I am a consumer and I have power to
Guys.
not have that thing exist anymore.
The hashtag would be Misa 2.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No. Oh, no. Let's not.
No is correct.
I did a like when the tax bill got passed. I said, "We some people going to get audited?"
Jesus Christ. I'm excited that we're doing a Hostful. It has not been possible really since the festival in June.
Oh wow, yeah.
Because you were super crazy busy.
Yes.
And then Matt, it doesn't seem like that long ago where Matt was like, Chris, I don't know what to do. I'm not working.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, everything for him at once.
Yeah.
Started writing on the Goldbergs,
Yeah.
Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah.
Like, had to continue doing 5 podcasts that he started doing while he was
When
unemployed.
you had time.
Yeah, that was the move. During hiatus last year, I was like, let me fire up James Bonding again, so at least I'll have
Trying to fertilize some eggs along the way.
doing IVF, doing Sidekicks. Still, we got 2 more episodes of Sidekick on Alpha before
Jesus.
the whole thing folds. Who knows what's happening over there?
Is that a digital platform?
It
is
sure
not doing well.
is. Well, see, so I says to them. I says,
Yes.
I don't know how we were. I guess we were able to pin you down because people say, "When are you going to do a Hostful?" And I go, "Matt's busier than I am at the moment."
Rare-
and you
rare
spent
treat.
more time in the. It was you were kind of doing the old up in the air business.
You're in New York all the time.
I was in New York every weekend for 9 weeks in a row.
So just walk people through what your week looked like what a typical.
What day would you like to start the week, Chris?
Let's say the week starts on Monday.
Okay,
Oh,
so
can't we just try for a Wednesday?
You know what? I don't
Monday
know.
might be less
I
confusing.
don't appreciate.
okay,
that.
so
Appreciate
Monday
that.
mornings, the car would pick me up in New York at 4:15 a.m.
Sure.
I would go to JFK. I would fly out on the 5:50 a.m. flight to LAX. I would land. I would drive to the Goldbergs at the Sony lot. I would do the Goldbergs until about 6 or 6:30 in that span, and then I would leave and drive to Burbank. I would tape Sidekick at 9:15 p.m. We would go until probably about 10:30 or so. I'd usually talk to the producers for a little bit and then head home. I'd probably get home at 11:30. I would then, on Tuesdays, I would go back to the Goldbergs. Tuesday night is when I would have to watch Star Trek Discovery. I'd watch the next episode of Star Trek Discovery. I would also watch probably a James Bond movie for James Bonding.
Sure.
Wednesday morning, 7:30 a.m., I'd have my...
Quickly say hi to the wife.
I'd say hello.
Yeah.
Hi, honey.
A nod.
7:30 a.m. 7:30 a.m. on Wednesday.
Do you want to leave some sperm here? Should I leave some sperm here? What am I doing?
Just tell me where.
Yeah. It's on the nightstand, babe.
You got it. Honey, I put a couple in the fridge for you in case you miss it. And then, 7:30 a.m. Skype call with New York about the next episode of After Trek. Read through that script. And then I would go back to the Goldbergs. Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. So I'd usually leave work and drive to Pasadena to record James Bonding at 9 p.m. on Wednesday nights.
Yep.
Thursdays, I'd have therapy at 8 a.m., go to the Goldbergs. Thursday or Friday during lunch, I would try to record Star Trek The Next Conversation with Andy. And then Thursday night, I would record Matt and Dory's Excellent Adventure with my wife. Fridays, I would go to the Goldbergs. And then Friday nights, I would leave work and drive to the airport. And then I would fly to New York.
And that was, you did almost like 2 months of that, right?
Yeah.
And then New York to go do
New York to
After
go
Trek.
do After Trek. Saturdays were kind of my day to sort of catch up on sleep/email/work. I would often be recording ads for James Bonding in the hotel room over Skype with Matt Gorley. And then Sundays, 2 p.m. call time for the show. Read the script, do a rehearsal, tape the show at 9:30 p.m. live, not go to sleep, and then get picked up at 4:15 a.m.
Wow,
So
sounds like you were shaken and not stirred. Bye, everyone. Have a good time.
Oh, Chris disappeared.
That's all I was here to do.
I don't
Weirdly
remember
specific
anymore.
task.
Yeah.
Weirdly specific goal. You were about to say something because he said he didn't go to bed.
So Sunday and Monday, that was like a no sleep, almost
Yeah.
like 36 hours. Because you said you woke up kind of late on Sundays. Just to catch up on sleep, or
Saturdays would catch up on sleep, sort of, and then Sunday. The problem with the Sunday night thing is we'd finish at like 10:30, and you've just done a live television
got
show,
all
so
that
you're
adrenaline
like
pumping.
amped up, and you can't like run home to
No,
run to
you
the
can't.
hotel.
you're just gonna sit.
You can't.
Yeah, you can't run to the hotel and sleep because it would only A, be 4 hours of sleep, and B, it was just impossible.
It's impossible because you're terrified you're going to sleep through your flight,
yeah,
and you
I
can't.
would try to sleep. It never
What are you doing?
worked.
What are you doing to force yourself to stay awake?
It depends. Sometimes I will go for a walk, long New York walks at night. I'm a big fan of those. And sometimes I'll go back and like watch YouTube or something on the
New York is really. I've been there twice in the past few weeks, and it's the best at Christmas time. And the weather, with the exception of like a quick little Arctic pocket a couple weeks ago, I was just there a couple weeks ago, spectacular.
Yeah.
Now, of course, any day now, it's going to turn into an ice forest.
Yeah, and that's what I'm sort of with the back half of season 1 of Discovery starts January 7th. So we're going January 7th through February 11th. And I'm fully prepared for horrible weather.
Yeah, well, at least the cold air makes it so you can't smell all the piss and garbage on the streets.
That's right.
But the pissicles really are nice for Christmas.
Time of year.
No one wants to be in New York in the summer.
Yellow bells. Hey, are you going to maybe consider not taping podcasts while you're doing this craziness? Or
While I'm doing After Trek now, I
You have
do
to?
them. Yeah. Got to crank them out. Got a lot of advertisers I got to please, Chris.
Yeah, and then, of course, your life is such a movie plot because someone might go, Matt, you're doing too much. And you go, but I have to. The IVF is so expensive. What does it cost every time?
It depends on what we're doing that round, but I think last year or this year, 2017, I think we probably spent about 70. Drugs and retrievals and transfers and all
Now,
that
in your estimation,
tests and whatnot.
I know this is going to be a dumb question.
Yeah.
Should it really cost that much, or is it just because they know that people will pay more when they're trying to conceive a
This
child?
is an excellent question, Chris, and a question my wife and I have struggled with over the last year and a half, and I think that it should probably realistically cost $3,000. Like, that's what it should cost.
Yeah.
I feel like all the equipment's paid for at the clinic already. Like, I don't think there's an overhead other than their rent.
They could name a wing after you.
I feel like, I have friends who go to the same clinic and have gone, let's see, we've done 3. We're going to do our 4th in January, and they've done like 7.
Oh my God.
It's crazy. Their overhead's covered, so I think they should really give me a break.
That's
Now, are you
nuts.
gonna turn like your bathroom into and make it look like an IVF clinic room so you can jerk off in there easier?
I just need to be able to jerk off. So what I'll need is uncomfortable looking chairs with some cracked leather that you're wondering how it got cracked.
Yeah. Wear and tear.
Violent porn, like weirdly odd, like Ass Blasters 3. It's
Really?
like- yeah, the porn selection in an IVF jerk-off room is really,
Fetishy?
yeah, super fetishy.
Why even bother using their stuff? You have your phone.
No, you always got to look just to see
Oh,
what's
yeah,
doing.
yeah,
You got to take a gander.
Yeah, what's popping off?
Yeah,
in the scene.
and then see what's doing. A lot of magazines still that are tattered.
I appreciate that in this day and age, someone is still willing to crank it to the still image.
Yeah.
There's real art. There's real art to that.
It's not as bad as you think. A still image jerk off sesh.
I
You got
can't
some
even. I can't
Herb
even-
Ritz books in there, I imagine. Madonna's sex books, National Geographic from the 50s to the 70s.
Yes.
I can hardly get it going for anything less than an animated GIF.
Yeah, sure. You at least need that
Well,
repeating
attention
4
spans
seconds.
are shorter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just need one awkward GIF of SpongeBob and Patrick doing something.
Yeah, I need a sexy vine.
Yeah, that's.
Sexy Vine.
Why does it still have your Vine loops on your Twitter profile page when Vine is not still an active?
I can't believe
Platform.
we're in a world where post-Vine. It's a post-Vine climate, guys.
I never thought it would happen, except for while Vine was going on.
Yeah, that's true.
Did you really think Vine was ever gonna go away? I never thought it would go away.
Well, I was surprised that it went away as quickly as it did.
Yeah.
That did surprise me because there were people who legitimately were. But you know what? With all these tech platforms, with the exception of a couple of them, they just kind of they operate under this idea of well, let's just corral the audience and then we'll figure out how to make money once we have the audience.
Right.
But then in that process, their challenge is how do we scale up without an alien and bring in new subscribers or bring in new users while not alienating the existing users. I mean, it's a fucked up. It's really a fucked up business because a lot of them are just you just read these things of oh, so and so lost $5 billion last year, but they're still cranking along.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you look at Amazon, which did not turn a profit until 2 or 3 years ago, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Amazon was just
Well, they would just
money
expand so
losing.
much
Yeah.
every year, right?
Yeah.
But on paper, it was explained to me that when they bought Whole Foods,
Yeah.
Amazon's valuation is so high that when it bought Whole Foods for what was it?
Less than Star Wars.
No, I don't think. Wasn't it like no? Star Wars was $4
No.
billion.
Was it?
Star Wars, I think, was.
Katie, we're gonna need to know how much.
I thought Whole
Amazon
Foods
paid.
was like 10 or 13 or something along those lines. But anyway, whatever they bought Whole Foods for, it was explained to me by a businessman that when they bought Whole Foods, their valuation went up just a few percentage points.
Yeah.
But because their valuation overall was so high, that their valuation went beyond the money that they spent on Whole Foods. So on paper,
Oh, wow.
they already turned a profit by a couple of $1 billion.
That's all speculative, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it is.
Nothing's
It
real.
is all. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing's real.
Nothing's real. Your bitcoins
Simulation.
are enjoy it while you can, guys. Enjoy your cryptocurrency
What about
while it lasts.
money?
Yeah.
Money's still good.
I'm changing everything to gold doubloons.
I think
Shoving it in my mattress.
What's a doubloon?
I don't. I've just kind of.
Is that the Rachel Bloom currency?
That's the Rachel Bloom
Rachel de Bloom.
currency.
Yes.
Break that into
Bloom.
song.
Yeah. Whatever it is, I made them.
Who was I talking to? I was talking to someone about Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, and I said to them, I was like, "Well, is it ever explained why they break out into song?" Because I'd never seen the show. And they're like, "Well, she's crazy." I was like, "Oh, it's in the title."
Title of the show.
Yeah.
That Rachel Bloom is great.
She's
Yeah.
a talented.
dig her a
She's
lot.
a talented
Song,
person.
that show's a lot of fun too.
Now, what are you, Jonah? You've had a very since this is sort of the Hostful year wrap up, I guess. Your year was
Peaks and valleys.
yeah. I mean,
One valley, one gnarly. Like this year's been just so nutty. Where like I wrapped up Hidden America season 2, and then it came out right around the same time as as Mystery Science Theater. And then there was like a little bit of time, and then we went and did the Mystery Science Theater tour, which was tough just because it was like I couldn't sleep on the bus, and like it was just
maybe just kind of explain to people what that, because the funny thing is how much, when you're younger, you just think, oh, I really want this thing. The idea that you probably could never have even it would never have even occurred to you that you would ever take over Mystery Science Theater.
No.
So then you get this job. It's your dream job. It's a lot of work. Obviously, it's rewarding because, first of all, you did an amazing job on it.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Then you go on this tour, which maybe seems like, oh, it'll be fun. I'm with my friends at a Mystery Science Theater. But I got chest pains hearing about that schedule.
Yeah, I think you called me when you saw like the
I did. I was
the
worried
schedule.
about you.
Yeah, the schedule's supposed
I
to be
think I
like,
texted you.
Yeah.
I texted
Yeah,
you too.
did.
I was like, "What the
So just
fuck?"
sort of walk
Yeah.
people through what that was.
So it was we did about 6 weeks, and then a week before that of rehearsals. We did 2 different movies most nights. So sometimes there was like 1 show a night, 2 shows in one night, and it was like almost pretty much a city a day. We had maybe 1 or 2 nights off a week, but those were usually travel days. And so it basically you do a show, you do a meet and greet either before.
But the
or
show
after.
is a full.
Yeah.
You are doing a full episode of Mystery Science Theater with interruptions and sketches.
Yeah, so it's like we would, there would be an opening video with Patton and Felicia's characters, and then like the theme song would start. I'd run out. Hampton, would scoot on a little, stool with wheels like below, and then this guy Tim Ryder, who was he was a bonehead in the series, but he filled in for Servo because Barron couldn't do the tour, and so they come in, we do a whole opening sketch, we interact with the video, we got movie sign, we run behind the screen and I get up onto a platform, and it's a rear projection, so we have our silhouettes like on the the corner of the screen. And then we do the riffs for either Ega or Argo Man, the Fantastic Superman, which is fantastic. It's a really great, terrible movie. And then that segment's over. But then there's the door sequence, so we run back out and do a sketch, and then get movie sign, run back behind do the next segment of the movie, come back out, do a sketch, intermission for about 15 minutes, and then come back out, run back and do another segment, another sketch, and then there's like 2 songs.
Jesus.
And yeah, it was like a real show. It was like
Yeah.
real, like big. And once it starts, it's just going, and you can't stop it, and it's really exhausting. And then on top of that, we would do meet and greets with the VIP ticket holders,
Yep.
which was always like that stuff would always be nice, just because it was everyone was so excited and would kind of energize you and get you ready for the show. But if we did 2 shows in one night, there was 2 different movies, 2 live shows. we'd have to do one meet and greet before, then one afterwards, and I always felt so bad for those people because I was so wrecked, and like I was just like really tired and all the time, and I wanted to be present, and then after that we have maybe about an hour to get onto the bus, and then the bus drives to the next city while we're sleeping. Well, while everyone else was sleeping, I couldn't sleep on the bus.
Oh, is that because you're 6'5"?
6'5" in a
bunk bed?
In a bunk bed that's 6.5 feet long.
Did you ever wake up and smack your head on the...
Yeah, so the first night, it turns out like my air conditioner vent wasn't working, and so I like hotboxed myself inside this thing. It was terrible. And then like I would, I toss and turn, and so like every time I would turn, like I would like hit my head on top of the bunk, and then I hear the guy above me kind of go, "Hey, take it easy."
Well, who's the guy above you?
I had one of the crew guys.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it was.
Take it easy. And did you go,
kid.
"Do you know who I am?"
Yeah, no.
I am Jonah Heston.
I am Jonah. I'm the reason. No, Joel's there too, so I couldn't complain because Joel was in a bunk too, and he's a guy in his 50s, and he's just so. But it was, everyone else was like, "Oh man, sleeping on the bus is great."
No, it sucks.
Yeah,
I did a bus tour.
It really just puts me to bed. It's
No.
just and so I would try it like I was trying all these different things like sleep water or taking
Melatonin?
Melatonin.
Yeah.
And like it's like I don't metabolize too fast, so like I wouldn't work when I was trying to get to sleep, like taking that sleep water, melatonin, and then the next day, like it would just be in my muscles and my body, and I'd be wrecked the whole next day.
It would
Like,
finally kick in when you needed to be awake.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, like, I don't do like weed edibles well. Like it's like it's like it's like 4 hours later, and I'm like, well, I guess nothing's happening. I'll go to bed. Oh no.
Well, it's got to cover a lot of ground with you.
Yeah, it's got a lot of space to fill.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And then I would try like I was like, well, I'll just have like some beers to like just get sleepy enough to like just go, and the movement wouldn't bug me. And so I'd like in the living room, I'd like drink a few beers, be like, okay, I'm pretty tired, and then I go to the bunk and I just that
Fall asleep with your eyes open?
yeah, just like drunk and not feeling kind of sick and hungover from just like not being able to sleep.
And you're being shimmied back and forth because of the bus.
Here's the thing. We were told we got this bus driver called Smooth Kenny. That's what everyone says. Like the guys like who are running the tour.
You got
Chris,
Smooth Kenny.
He's like, oh, we got Smooth Kenny. It's like never hit a rumble strip. That's like the guy's whole that's what he's known for, being like the smoothest bus driver.
Sounds like you hit a lot of rumble strips.
Yeah. We must have had fucking Bumpy Daryl or some shit, because like it was like every fucking night it was like just constantly hitting either the rumble strips on the side or the dividers on the other side, and I was above the wheel, and it's all great. I don't
want people to think we're complaining about your dream job, but when you actually get into the logistics of it,
let's clarify. The dream job was making the show.
I ever tell you about when I did the bus tour last year, and Lydia came with me, and we had this really great bus driver. He was a really sweet guy, but it just and I think for him, we were not the typical, neither of us drink. We're not party people.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're very low key, and I'm just curious if you got the same rule, because when he kind of gave us the rundown of what to do and not do on the bus, he said he finally got to no number twos.
No number twos.
Unless you're going to hot bag it. And we're like, oh no. Like basically if you shit into a bag in the toilet and then tie it up real fast, you can do that. By the way, there was no hot bagging.
No, that was a big thing. No number twos. And so we would it's like if any of us really had to go, we would just like, hey, can you pull off at the next spot, And so that was always the worst. Like I would wake up I would usually end up kind of falling asleep once the bus stopped, and it was always a bummer when it just was a truck stop, because then once I'd fall asleep and then the bus would start back up, and then I wouldn't be able to sleep again.
So it sounds like it took a lot of mystery out of the Mystery Science Theater.
It did, and then we roll up into the next city, we would roll up, and then that's when I'd fall asleep, and I'd wake up later, and I'd get my stuff, and a lot of these were older theaters, so they had terrible backstage showers. I remember one time they're like, here's a shower you can use. It was like, not in Boston, like Philly or something like that, but like it was like a screwdriver to turn on this faucet. And it was just like trickling water, and like I was like, and I moved the shower curtain, and just tons of roaches, and you know.
Yeah.
And you like all you really want is like a shower just to get all the recycled air off of you.
Yeah.
And then like then you have a little bit of time to go find some food that's not terrible for you, and then
was Dee on any of this tour?
No, it's like shortly after I left for tour. I think it was in Boston. It was like the night of the night before our first show. We were in Boston, and she we got off the phone, and then she called me back immediately, and like our dog Ruby was having a seizure, and so so she took her to the thing, and now like our dog is on like amongst all like her congestive heart failure medicine, and then her Cushing's pills, and it's like now
Peter Cushing's pills.
Yeah, it just makes her look a little weird.
Yeah.
But like it's like, but we don't mind because it's kind of neat for our story.
Yeah. It's retro. It's cool and nostalgic.
So it's like at 6:30 a.m., 2:30 p.m., 10:30 p.m. Ruby needs her seizure medicine.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and so it's like it just kind of like was like a thing. It's like Dee couldn't really come out for any of it.
Oh my God.
So it kind of complicated.
And then when you got back from the tour, your dad thought it would be cool to die.
My dad, with great timing as ever, he had a stroke. A few days after I got back from tour. I'm trying to remember. When so much stuff happens, it's like time kind of starts.
Very.
So I can't remember if it was like a few days after the tour or
really,
a week or
really
so.
soon after you got home. I remember.
Yeah, and so my dad, I got a text from my cousin, and she said, "Hey, your dad's had a stroke." I was like, "Why are you telling me this? Why is my mom telling me this?" And then I called my mom, and then she's like, she was waiting to hear what the deal was. So what happened the night before is that they were sleeping, and I guess he got up and then he fell down, and then it was he had a stroke. So it's he fell down. My mom woke up, and he was trying to get up, but one side of his body wasn't working. So they called the ambulance, and then they so they took him in, and then so then it's just kind of just brain is gone. His brain is gone, and then so once we found out that there was really no way he was going to come back, me, Deanna, and Adam, my brother, flew out there, and then there was a few days, and there was we were talking a bunch during that time, which was very great. And then Matt, when your dad dies, you can be part of the club.
You'll be part of the exclusive
John Mira,
club.
somehow the last dad left.
I think he's actually still giving a speech at your wedding rehearsal dinner. I think he's still standing there in the cafe in Vegas.
Yeah.
And then another thing Matt did when he was in the Scouts.
And then, wait, where am I? As the hotel implodes. But yeah, so then, it was it was crazy kind of going in, because it's his eyes would kind of wander around sometimes, and if you put your hand in his hand, it would squeeze it, and he would also scratch. It was very every 20 seconds or something like that, his palm would rub above his eye, and then his finger would scratch below his eye, and then he would put his hand back down, and it was always very mechanical. And then if my mom talked, his eyes would go, and so I was trying to I was getting scared, because I wasn't sure which the term I found it was called locked in. If he was in there and he couldn't communicate, just stuck in
Is there any way that they don't know if that's the case? Can they tell with the EEG?
Yeah, they I asked, I was is he there? Is what made him up there? And it was hard to get an answer out, because I think they're sensitive about the idea of what people think of when they think of a human being. And I was like, hey, let's just real quick say there's no soul. Are the electrons
Real quick, no soul.
Real quick.
Yeah. Are the electrons that made up my my dad?
Is his personality still there?
Is he still there? And they're like, not really. It's gone. It's the clot was there for longer because they couldn't do a clot buster because he's on blood thinners.
Oh.
And so if they had by the time that he got to the hospital, if they had done it, it would have just fucked him up real bad. But at the same time, I was like, well, what's the difference?
Right.
Once you have tried, but that's their discretion. And so either way, it would have ended up probably not good. And then there was like the next day was like he was asleep, but he was like breathing like very like almost like he was on a machine.
Right.
And then that was 2 days. And then like my cousin Kalani, whose name you love.
Yeah.
Because my dad helped raise him. So he came from the Big Island, and like a lot of the cousins came up from North Shore, and we all kind of separately like went in the room and kind of like said goodbye as he was breathing. And then like at 2:30 a.m. like Saturday night, like a few days, like I guess like if it was Wednesday was the stroke. So on Saturday night, it's like he died.
So you didn't have to make the decision about whether or not to.
No, I mean that was kind of that was the scariest part. So like the stroke happened, and you go, okay, like it's like maybe so he's gone. Like what made him is gone. It's real crazy because it's like it looks like him, and then sometimes like his throat would clear because he would like saliva or whatever, and then it sounds like him. So it's like you're looking at this guy as your dad, and he goes, and it sounds like him, and they're not
like
words.
He's going to come back.
Yeah, and they're looking around, and you're just like, and then there's those moments where, it almost looks like he looks right at you, and you're just like, oh shit. Maybe there's like a thing, and then we talked to his general practitioner who 2 weeks before gave him like a clean bill of health. Is like it's just because his body was healthy, and that was actually the scary part, was that it was his body was healthy, so we were so scared that he would just have to be this vegetable that my mom would have to deal with, and like just take care of him, like our hospice care or something, like wiping his ass for feeding tube, whatever the case. Right. So that was scary, and that was like kind of a bit much for my mom. She was kind of like starting to break down. She's like, I don't know if I could do that. Like that's insane. She's been taking care of him because he's all his health problems over the years. He's almost died so many times, and I think we all kind of had a head start on the process of knowing what we'd feel like because of the times he's almost died before.
Sure.
There's like 2 or 3 times in his life the doctor said he's probably not going to make it.
But then, gosh, also faced with the idea of this indefinite vegetative state, it might have also been, I mean, I would imagine that weirdly took some of the edge off when he finally passed.
Yeah,
like,
it was a relief.
So he's not going to just be a dead-brained body forever.
And that's the thing. It's like you really kind of, it makes you like, really think about, self and life and stuff like that when you're like, it's like, visually it's him, it's his body, but he's not there. So it's not him, but it looks and sounds like him. It's a spooky thing. It's like a real, like, it was a real head trip to like, just kind of, my brother, he's like, hey, like, do you want to, he'll squeeze your hand. I go, but I remember just like being in the room going like, but it doesn't mean anything.
It's just a mechanical.
It's just a mechanical thing. Like, it's like, it's like, it's like some people might get something out of it, but like I wasn't.
It is a trip. My stepdad died a couple years before my dad, and it was just a weird thing. He was went to get his car serviced, had some kind of I think it was very similar. He had some sort of a heart incident, which I think went to his brain. Like if someone had been there, they could have. Yeah. But they came back and just found him in the room, and so he was, essentially brain dead. Yeah. But then lying in the hospital, and it is trippy because you just think, oh, am I willing to take the risk that this is the last time I'll see this person? Yeah. And that this is, even if there's a chance they might come back. Yeah. And and the doctors, it's rare that because they don't want to get sued, it's rare that they'll give you a definitive, they'll go, well, it's not likely that, just fucking tell me. Yeah. Yeah. That was the tough part. Like they're really just tiptoeing around all kinds of stuff. And you're just kind of like, it's just like, please just like, can we like, and I even researched, it was like, oh, is there compassionate killing in the state of Hawaii? There's not, there's, right. It was, it was tough. It was like, my mom's been with him, since she was a kid, not a kid, like, like it's like she was like a senior high school when they met. Oh, wow. So it's her whole life, it's like being with him. And then, it's like when he finally died, it was, it was real like, it was real tough because it's like there's all these kind of like, I'm sure you had the same thing. It's like I had a good relationship with him, but it was complicated, like it's like there was stuff that like
I wanted to like, it's something like that I was thinking about for years. I was like, oh, like the opportunity you got. And then Dan Pasternak, our friend, also got to do it, where you got to interview your dad.
Yeah.
And you kind of got to like just break down like his life and get a good, concise idea of what his thoughts on things were and stuff like that. So that was tough. I just kind of like, it was weird to just have him be gone. And it's like how coming back to LA where my life wasn't that different. Because I've been out here for so long, and
that's what was so. And I felt, obviously, an incredible amount of empathy because of what you were going through with your dad, but also really understanding that for the past few years you had been going. It was like Meltdown Show, not just the Meltdown Show at Meltdown Comics, but also the Comedy Central Meltdown Show. So Meltdown Show, Hidden America, Mystery Science Theater, Hidden America again, Meltdown Show, like all wrap. You're going. You get back. Your dad dies. You got to go back home, do all that. You come back, and all of a sudden, it's just still.
Yeah.
There's just nothing. It's like the momentum is just like slamming on the brakes.
Yeah.
And that's a real shock to the system, and really, it almost. I had the luxury of just continuing to work through. It was just like, But everything just sort of coincidentally just stopped.
It would have been a weird time in my life. Even if he didn't die, like, it's like just all that stuff to end, like, so, all of a sudden, and not like for any reason, just that's the way stuff times out. Just like what Matt was talking about earlier, which is like, it's like, oh, like all of a sudden stuff starts up and like, just as easily a bunch of stuff can just wrap up. And so, yeah, it would have been weird. And then to kind of just have that, maybe it was nice to like, just have the opportunity to figure out how to grieve, I guess. It's still a process. I started seeing a therapist. I ran into a friend, and like he said, like he's like, when people get into a car accident, they go to physical therapy, and this is an emotional car accident.
Yeah.
So maybe therapy is a good idea. And so it's and then my mom. It's it's been great. Like she's been out here, and now she's up with her parents up in Chico, California. And so, there's like good days and bad days, and it's still a whole process.
Yeah, it is. And what I said to you, and what I would say to anyone, because I get a lot of messages from people that say, hey, I just joined the Dead Dad Club. And I always say to them, and I try to answer everyone I can. I think I actually I think I answer everyone that writes to me about that, because I feel like it's really important to and what I say is, don't fight anything that you're feeling. Mm-hmm. If you feel really sad one day, cry if you need to. If you feel really happy, it's okay to laugh. If you feel angry, feel angry. No matter what you're feeling, the more you just sort of give yourself over to the, whatever the waves of emotion are, the quicker it's gonna heal, because it's just so hard to fight it, and that's what's gonna really drag it out. And
that's the thing. I'm not sure if this is the same for you, but we all have like kind of mood swings, but like I can since it's happened, like I wasn't able to sleep for a while, like after like I just could not just go to bed and just eyes open, like I was on the tour bus again. But like I can feel the mood swing start. Like I can almost feel my emotions start like leaning and careening to like a certain place, be it happy or sad. But like I've never actively noticed mood swings before, and that's kind of like been real weird. Where I kind of like I remember even like last week I was just like I think later today I'm gonna not feel so good. It was real weird, and like it's like there's a lot of other stuff like that's like it's even though like my dad had kind of a full life, like it's like I kind of felt bad for a lot of the bad stuff that happened to him. Like it's like there was one thing I said like the night he died was like, oh, I just wanted him to have like another win. Yeah, just one thing. Sorry.
That's okay. You should. It's a bummer thing. You can be upset.
You got to be on Magnum PI. None of us did.
Yeah, and then. It's just one of those things where when it needs to come up, it needs to come up.
Yeah.
And you just have to feel it. And there's nothing wrong with that, and it's very natural, and I always feel like it's the most you can do to honor someone is to, feel how you're going to feel.
Yeah, no, I was trying not to.
Well, that's the problem.
We literally
Jonah.
just said you shouldn't do
Yeah,
that.
but it works so good for Matt.
Push it all down, Jonah. Push it all down.
Push it up. Jonah, don't you want to be a ticking time bomb? Don't you want to be a time bomb?
Just a ball of eventual rage.
No,
Yeah.
I still listen, man. It's still it sneaks up on me, man. I watched Parenthood the other night, and like 3/4 of the way through, Lydia had fallen asleep, and I was like, just seeing it because it's because so much of it is just dads on dads.
That a lot of dad on dad stuff. Like, I haven't been able to watch one of my favorite movies, Beginners, which was my comfort movie for a long time.
Oh no.
Can't watch that.
There's a lot of dads on dad stuff in the jerk-off room at the IVF club.
Oh, it's a classic time bomb joke. A classic. Just mush it down with clove cigarettes.
That's how I deal with the stress, Chris. That's not how I deal with the anger.
running around. But in general, I've been really impressed by how well you've been doing, by how well you've been dealing with it, and how healthy you've been. I think I was a little worried, like, I hope Jonah doesn't just start drinking a ton now to get over it. And I haven't. I'm not with you every day, but I haven't really noticed that that's been the case. And you really, I think you're doing a good job.
Thanks. Yeah.
Have you tried drinking a lot to deal with it?
Well, that first week when I was in Hawaii, like, I drank a ton.
Yeah.
You know,
It doesn't help.
Well, that's what
it
they
doesn't
do
help,
there.
but it was like, that's like,
You know what
my
they
mom
say.
was drinking, yeah.
When in Hawaii.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that was like, that was just so nuts being back home for a bit. But the weirdest thing was like, just like I spent that first week, like, was just me and my mom. I was staying in the bed, like, with her, like, so I was on my dad's side. And that was another, like, really kind of lame thing that made me start kind of like evaluating a lot of stuff in my own life. Was that his side of the bed was like a little lower than her side of the bed.
Yeah.
And like, it was because he just watched TV in bed all the time.
Oh, mine's much lower just because I'm so much fatter than my wife.
Yeah.
Well, the remedy for that is just get a new mattress every so often.
Yeah.
You know, when my dad before my dad met my stepmom, there was a period. My mom and dad got divorced. My dad was probably around 40 or 41, and then he married my stepmom when he was 49. But before then, he had been single for like 8 years. I mean, he dated, but he had this couch. You know, my dad would have if he had never gotten married again, he would have had this furniture until he died. But his couch had that ass depression on it.
Oh, yeah.
Where the fabric was smeared off.
Yeah.
And it was just like it was not hard to see where he sat.
Yeah.
In that couch. And that is just such a dad thing of like,
Yeah,
But I mean,
yeah.
was your dad's sedentary lifestyle, did that contribute to this?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, like my mom said, he would lay down watching TV and he would cross his legs at his ankles, like tons of stuff that's just bad for you. And he got healthy because like the doctor's like, you got to get healthy, like,
Yeah.
like it's like because like all this, he was always on the verge of maybe getting diabetes and stuff like that. But like it's like my mom would say, it's like, I'd say, hey Mike, do you want to go for a walk? And he'd be like, oh, I don't know. He'd like hem and haw, and like I just like would flash to like every time I'm on the couch at home, and Deanna would like, do you want to go walk to go get like coffee or something? I'd be like, I don't know, just like, and just like it was just this weird like, and I think he was just depressed, like I don't think he didn't like that he used to have money and he didn't have it anymore, and that really bummed him out.
Our parents'
So it's like-
generation didn't really understand depression, though. They really just, like it was really like, I don't know,
Yeah.
They just didn't really have a real healthy approach. Not everyone, obviously, but by and large, they just didn't really have a healthy approach to mental health because I think it was just the walk it off generation, or like, I'm not going to go see I'm not fucking crazy. I'm not going to go see a psychiatrist.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they just didn't really. I mean, I think if anything, what our generation has, and this next generation has done is really normalize talking about mental health.
I think it's very, it's a very good thing to do.
I still think it's not as normalized as it should be.
Yeah.
No, but from the difference between our parents'
Yeah, of course,
generation and
of
now.
course.
Yeah, when I
holy
told my
shit.
mom I was going to therapy, she's like, "Oh, why?"
Oh, yeah.
Wait,
because of the last chunk of time.
Yeah, that was an interesting thing too. Like the week I spent with my mom, like we just kind of just like talk shit about my dad. Like it's like it was a weird thing. Like it was just like I kind of asked her a bunch of questions. Like I was like, it's like, did he resent like my money or success? And she's like, yeah, kind of. Like it was and like she's like, and I never got it, and I told him to relax. Like it was a bunch of shit like that, where it's like, you know, like I was like, why did he do this, or why was he like this? And you know, we just kind of like talk shit.
Like cathartic.
You know what's
It was very cathartic.
And
yeah.
I think that's also okay, because this thing happens where when
I love how Jonah's the only one not wearing glasses. It's very strange.
I know.
I also got LASIK. I also like, you know, lasered like one of my.
Well, this podcast has changed, man.
It's crazy.
Yeah, my identity is gone. That's another. It's like I was talking to my therapist, and like she's like, you know, you bring up the fact that you don't wear glasses anymore quite a bit, and she's like, I think even if your dad didn't die, you would probably still need to go to therapy
For the glasses,
For
at
the
least.
glasses, yeah.
Well, I don't need glasses to see. That's very aggressive. but I think that sometimes a thing can happen. My mom told me this great story about she used to, you know, my mom's Catholic. She used to sing. She was a song leader in the church, and I think that she was singing at this one funeral. It was like a couple decades ago, and the guy who was an older guy who died, and he was a fucking ass. Like, guy was just an asshole.
Yeah.
But everyone who got up to speak about him was like, you know, he was so generous and so good. And the guy's wife got up and she was like, let's not kid ourselves. He was not a great guy, and I don't need to stand up here and lie. And, you know, everyone at first was like, whoa, but then she was being honest. You know, it's like, there's nothing wrong with this idea of like, oh, you can't speak ill of the dead. Like, well, sometimes, you know, everyone's flawed. And sometimes if you're going to honor someone's life, you're going to talk about someone's life, you should be able to talk about all of it.
I think so.
Not just pretend that, oh my God, you know, like before I would have said they had problems, but now they're perfect because they're not here anymore.
Yeah, my mom was really worried about that, because she had to deal with them all the time. So it's like when like she's like, I just like everyone going like, oh, he was so great. It's like, yeah, he was sometimes. Sometimes he was a good guy. Other times he was just a grump.
Yeah.
You know, and so
you can learn from that.
Yeah, no. It was very nice, and it was like, and then like when, you know, for Thanksgiving we went to my mom's family, you know, their place, and like it was cool, like hearing like, you know, my uncles, like her brothers, he's like, so, you know, I needed money one time. Your dad was really good. Like all my cousins, like, you know, saying cool stuff about him. So that was really, really nice.
Yeah, it's a never ending. I mean, it'll get to a point where maybe you're there, but it'll get to a point where when you think about it, the emotion that comes forward isn't so much sadness, but sort of like a weird comforting thing, or you'll utter something and you'll go, fuck, that's exact, and then you'll be comforted by it because you're like, oh, he's kind of not in any mystical way, but like, oh, he's alive in me. His molecules are in me both emotionally and physically. Yeah. And so he does live on.
Yeah, and that worries me the most.
Well, but you're aware of you're aware of the things that you don't want to repeat. You're aware of those flaws. And look, the good news is, I mean, a lot of times people will either make exactly the same mistakes their parents made, or you'll make new and innovative mistakes, you know, like and so maybe, you know, maybe that's, but it always does sort of make you aware of like, oh, is this you know, I notice negative things all the time that I do. I go, oh, I think that was my dad, or I think that's my dad's father.
Yeah.
You know, and
I see that. Like I'm seeing some of my dad's dad, my grandfather, in me sometimes as I get older, and like I go, God, that guy was such a dick. What am I doing? Yeah. Oh, when he makes fun of you, it means he likes you. And I go, wait, I think I've literally said that. I go, well, I only make fun of my friends.
Yeah. But it has been it has really been an incredible year.
Yeah. A lot of, it's like a lot of stuff. It's like so many things, so many different things throughout the year.
Isn't it funny how good things and bad things, but good things, you know, you do kind of have this weird, you can kind of have this self-flagellation when good things are happening and you're stressed about it. And you're like, but these are the good things, and anyone else would tell me I'm crazy and for complaining about this.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm lucky and I owe it to the universe to not say a peep about, but you know, no matter what, your body only has so much energy in it. Yeah. And so whatever you're stacking on top of your normal emotional load is going to be stressful, whether it's on paper good or bad. So, you know, it's you shouldn't feel too bad about, you know, being like, oh no, we gotta, because you're gonna do season 2 of Mystery Science Theater now, which I'm sure is fun. But I remember talking to you during that process, and that's a fucking intense. People don't realize the amount of work that goes into something that looks so off the cuff and like just playful.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of writing and a lot of rewriting. It's like you write thousands of jokes for each movie, thousands and thousands, and then like you'll have like the perfect joke for the perfect moment, but you can't figure out how to bring the words in so it's like so it fits in the spot where it'll make the most sense. And yeah, it's real tricky, but it's real fun. It's like, and it's new.
After the IVF and the dead dad thing, I feel bad for complaining about a weird thing that happened to me a couple months ago.
But he's going to do it anyway.
Well, I'm going to bring it up anyway.
So you went to Portland for this
ham
ham
croissant.
And
they didn't have that ham croissant. And
is there a statute of limitations on the ham and cheese croissant at Ken's Artisan Bakery? Did you have it? Because it's really fucking good. And did I mention
they had one and you didn't let us have a bite?
They found one after I threw a mini tantrum. Now, I'm not saying that it's a good thing to do, but you can't argue with results.
Yeah,
I honestly think of that moment.
I was just tired. I was overtired.
No, because you'd been talking about it.
Yeah, once or twice a month, that moment comes up in my head where I just think to myself, I'm like,
yeah, it was a douchey moment.
Actually, the end sort of conclusion in my head every time I think of it, and I almost always think of it as I'm like, going out to my car, I think of this moment. We're at this bakery.
Jesus Christ.
Hardwick.
It was like 2012.
Listen, you let me finish before you say I'm
It might be a good
you.
thing, Chris.
Okay.
Chris had been talking up this ham and cheese croissant at this bakery. So
when you travel a lot, those are the little things that kind of fuel you.
Yeah, totally get it.
Yeah.
Like I cannot. Like I think about a pepperoni slice from Joe's in the Village. All the time.
Yeah. Okay.
So. He's talking about this croissant. We go to Portland. We check into the hotel, and then Hardwick's like, well, let's go to the bakery.
Let's go right there, guys.
Let's go to the bakery.
Yeah. They got this ham and cheese
You
croissant.
got to try this croissant. So Jonah and I go up, and we get whatever, coffee and something else, and Hardwick goes and asks for this croissant, and they tell him flat out, essentially, we're out. We're out of this croissant.
But can I just say, and this is only child syndrome.
Yeah.
And it's certainly not her responsibility to take care of my feelings over a fucking croissant.
Yeah.
However, it just the way she said it was so cold. It was like, yeah, we don't have that. But I just
and this is the point. This is what I think about all the time. I think about the fact that
she was a little sharp.
You could have just left. You could have just let it be and not had the thing that you had been wanting for months.
Yeah.
But you did. You prodded.
Yeah.
You
I said something that made absolutely no sense to her, nor should she cared about, which is I just traveled here from somewhere else, and came here specifically to get this thing, which should not have made a fucking lick of difference.
Lo and behold,
they had another one.
She goes in the back, and magically, they had this other ham and cheese croissant. And I think about that sometimes where I'm like, sometimes you do. You sort of you don't. The first answer is not always the answer.
I will agree that the first answer a lot of the time is not the answer. The first answer is usually the quickest, like the shortcut answer. It's the quickest. I don't want to have to.
They were almost closed too, right?
Yeah, it was late in the afternoon. It was late in the afternoon. And it's the same thing with like customer service or like if you're dealing with an airline. Well, we can't change this ticket. Let me speak to a supervisor. Here's why this is. All right, we'll change it for you. It's like because they know that a large percentage of people will just say okay.
Yeah.
And I know it sucks to sort of be the douchebag who pushes, but a lot of times it does get
and I think
something
that,
done.
and then I turn my car on and I go, boy, what a baby, and I laugh to myself.
It was not a great moment, but
you should have heard my disappointment when I right before I went to tour to fly out for rehearsals for that tour. Dee and I were like, let's go drive down to Pedro and I'll have a swordfish burrito from Baja Fish. We roll up, boarded up. They closed down.
Oh,
and I was like, out of my mouth, no,
I want that.
The enjoy your burrito is no longer.
So you went and got a Jack in the Box across the street.
So here's what happened. Here's what happened a couple months ago.
Oh yes, yeah.
Depeche Mode came into town, played the Bowl. And I go, you know what? This is very excited about this. Very excited about this. So I get tickets. I get box, these great box seats. I invite my friend Tom Lennon. I invite my friend Will Wheaton. I invite my friend April Richardson. We're going to go see Depeche Mode. It's going to be great. We're like at the front, like we're at the last box before the pit.
Oh, wow.
Oh, nice.
So
box.
we go to dinner, we go to the concert. I don't go to concerts very often. So when the first song, I'm like, it's loud. Everyone else has earplugs. Did not occur to me to bring earplugs. Tom Lennon, thankfully, I got an extra set. Here, take these. So I jam them in, still incredibly loud. Leave the concert. My ears feel a little clogged. I wake up the next morning, ringing.
Yeah.
Ringing.
Yeah.
And it's loud. And it's not stopping. And, I'm like, okay, well, it's fine. Days. Ringing. And it's not... Starts to get a little better. We have the Walking Dead premiere, which I saw you at.
Yeah.
It's starting to get at least a little more manageable. And it's very loud at the after party. And at a certain point, I'm like, what am I doing? We have to leave because I can feel my ears starting to get...
Jeez.
We get home, ringing louder. I have like a full-on flip-out, like rocking in the corner. Like I've ruined my... Because anyone who has chronic tinnitus...
Yes, I do.
You do have it.
Mm-hmm. From playing drums, yeah.
It... When it first starts happening... You do think to yourself, how will I ever live with this? Because you can't shut it off.
No.
It just never stops.
Yeah.
It doesn't, and there's nothing that makes it, because it's in your ears, it's in your head.
It's a noisy fridge in your head.
And so I so feel sorry for my wife, and it just reaffirmed how much I loved her because she was amazing through the whole thing. Go to the doctor. Well, they can't tell you anything.
Yeah.
It might get better, might not, probably will. We don't know.
Yeah.
So that was, it's just one of those weird things that you never think about. So I would tell people, bring earplugs to a concert. Don't jam them in your ear too hard.
Yes.
But, it never occurred to me. And it's funny thing is we had just seen Baby Driver. Not that long.
Funny. Yeah.
But it hadn't really, you can understand what a ringing in your ear might be. But when it's nonstop, so what do you still have it all the time?
Yeah.
And
That's why I like having some like sounds or music or movie on when I go.
So it kind of it went away, and I felt a tremendous amount of relief. And then a couple nights ago, I go to answer my phone and accidentally hit it on speakerphone and hold it to my ear, and I go, "Hey, how's it going?" And so my ears have been kind of ringing again for the past couple days.
Oh no!
And of course, I've been terrified that it's not, and it's getting better.
You'll just acclimate to it, and it's just like a thing that's there, but you won't really notice it after a while.
Yeah.
Like these extra
Unless it's
30
real cool.
pounds.
But it's such a...
Yeah.
Listen, it's not the same as... I really understand it's not the same as someone losing their dad.
No, it's pretty close.
I'd say almost maybe.
It just...
It's a 1-on-1.
It is a strange... It was strange to sort of, being someone who has claustrophobia, it's almost a very claustrophobic feeling. Because you can't... Because you're like, I can't get away. I can't get away.
Yeah.
I can run around in circles. I can put things in my ears.
What's it like? Have you gone in the pool, put your head underwater?
No, it's fine. It hadn't bothered me for about 6 weeks until a couple days ago. But then the crazy thing happens is that when you're so hyper aware of it, then you just are like, oh, was that always there and I never noticed it, or is it
you
back,
also have
or is
the
it...
comic neuroses of honing in on the thing and just amplifying it.
I wish I had brought that up before we talked about your dad.
Yeah, it would have seemed like a better time.
No, but it was a nice, started like kind of crazy with Matt stuff, peaked with my terrible stuff.
But then one time I couldn't get this roll that I wanted in a bakery.
You took us in for a soft landing.
I
apologize profusely.
Did we ask you to try it, or did Jonah and I know to just let you eat the thing?
What?
I'm trying to remember.
I don't think we
the croissant.
asked.
Yeah, we knew to let him have it.
Yeah,
let him have his victory.
And guys like us, we would have had a bigger bite than he would have been willing to give.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna that much of it? Huh?
Yeah.
It's like asking for a chicken finger.
Guys, there's not 3 halves.
You
know there's not 3 halves, right? Only 2 halves. That's how halves work. It's only 2 halves. But I'm going up to Portland. I know by the time this goes up, I might have been in Portland, but I'm going up to Portland to Helium, and look out, Ken's Artisan Bakery.
May they have an ample supply of.
I want to be there for a few days this time, so I'll get there early.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
The way.
That's the way to do it.
way.
Well, let's talk about some things that we're thankful for this year, since we had a lot of complaining and sadness. And Matt, what have you been thankful for in 2017?
I mean, listen, it's been a wild ride. Very thankful for my wife for dealing with me being gone and
being gone, huh?
But actually, yes. Surprisingly, someone likes me. Someone likes having me around.
She's the best. Your wife is rad.
She is. She's fantastic. I'm very thankful for her. I'm also thankful to the universe for all those years of drawing enterprises on my notebooks and paying too much attention to Star Trek that it finally paid off in a job.
Well, it was I was very impressed because when you took off from at midnight ended for you.
Yeah.
I said, well, hey, you can come back in the fall if you want to. And then you called me a couple of days before we were going to offer you and you said, Kevin Smith is doing this thing. I'm going to go work on a thing. I don't want the job.
Yeah.
And we said, okay, so we hired someone else. And a couple weeks later, you go, that Kevin thing might not work out. Can I get that job? And I go, well, it's not available anymore. We gave it to someone. And you were like, well, what am I going to do? And I go, I don't know. Maybe we can try to figure something out, but I don't know.
Yeah.
And you had a moment of freaking out, but then you really got your shit together because you were, pushed up against a wall, basically. You were painted into a corner. And you figured it out. Yeah. And now all these great things
That's
happened.
when Myra shines.
Well, it's interesting that you say that. It's like when I do always sort of somehow manage. I always wonder, I always feel like the universe has been very kind to me. I always feel like, whenever I think that I'm fucked, something comes along to make it work. So far, no baby, but I always think that I'm due for the opposite end of that at some point. I'm always very cautious of
that's Catholic school.
When is this fucking coming?
That's kind of how I felt.
That's guilt Catholic school, and that's one of the things that I always fight. That my dad really believed, which is the superstition of good things, bad things happening. Yeah. And a lot of that, I think, has to get a lot of, I don't think it's a coincidence that we all went to Catholic school.
Right.
And it's just that, you think you deserve this good thing? Get the fuck down and stay down.
Certainly do not.
Yeah,
because
that's exactly what was running through my mind. I was like, what a year. Wait, what? I thought, I was like, oh, this is what happens. It's hard not to have that in your head.
Yeah. But it is, It is a false connection. Good things and bad things do happen, but I think because we just don't have a real guideline to connect the dots in the universe, we connect them in a way that makes sense to us.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, and that is where superstition comes from. That is all superstition. Superstition is basically just connecting dots in the universe for science we don't have yet.
Things don't happen for a reason. Things happen, and then we give them reason.
That's exactly right. The reasons are retroactively bolted on because we have to make sense of it and we have to process it because it can be too difficult to say well, that just happened.
Yeah, life is chaos.
Yeah, because otherwise you wouldn't. Why would you get up in the morning if you just felt everything is chaos and nothing has any structure?
Right. Yeah.
So what I would say is that I'd like to believe that's not true, and I like to believe the universe is fairly indifferent as to whether or not you fail or succeed.
Yeah.
So you might as well try to enjoy your life if you can.
I mean, it's an incredible time. I have After Trek. I have the talk show on Alpha.
I'm so proud of both of you because you are literally doing. And I think if you were to ask yourselves, 15, 16-year-old yous, not in the New York sense.
Yep.
Hey, look, here is an outline of your life in 2017. You converted to Judaism for a time to become a TV writer. Now,
I wanted
you are married to a Jewish lady, and you are a TV writer.
Yes. Yeah.
And you are doing a Star Trek centric thing. You're doing a James Bond centric thing, which is very successful.
Yeah.
A bunch of, you're both in proximity to the things that inspired you the most.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you were growing up.
Yes.
And that is an incredible.
I think about that I think about Jonah doing Mystery Science Theater, and I think about me doing Star Trek, and I just think that's fucking crazy.
It is really, really nuts. It's yeah.
But it also, I think, if anyone has followed this podcast from the beginning, it should be a roadmap that this is possible. It's possible because we were all just dudes who just kind of had things that we were interested in, and it's. I mean, none of us had any special leg up on anything. It's just
and certainly no special abilities,
Yes.
as the internet is often to point out.
They do love to poke holes. They do love to poke holes. But and that is the internet's special ability.
Yeah.
But it should be a nice encouragement for anyone. I always love when we get emails from people for like the cork board. They go, "Oh, you always say to do a thing, and I started a thing, and then this happened." I'm like, "That changed."
Yeah, for sure.
So it really does boil down to.
Yeah. And the other, I think the last thing I'll say I'm thankful for is like the podcast I do with Dory is really, it's amazing the people we're reaching on that like are also going through IVF. We had a listener write to us because Dory and I had talked about her getting her hysteroscopy and how they had found scarring in her uterus and stuff that they had not seen in any previous ultrasounds or anything like that. And someone had written in about their hysteroscopy and how that showed a bunch of stuff that like they, it saved a cycle, essentially, a wasted cycle. If you're doing a IVF cycle in a shitty road instead of a nicely paved one, that embryo's not going to stick. So a listener had written in and they were having some pains, and she knew from the podcast to ask for a hysteroscopy, and they found stage 1 ovarian cancer.
Whoa!
Oh my God! So they were
able to find it very early. Now this is still early on in her process, but she wrote in and said, "I would not have known to ask for a hysteroscopy had I not been listening to the podcast."
That's amazing.
So it's like it's the moments like that where I'm just like very gracious and delighted to have the community that we have for people going through IVF, and that we're sharing. And it's always funny. We always say we put out the sperm signal, which is our, we imagine it's. Yeah, and people are always asking these questions. They, it's a very listener-driven show where people are writing into us, and there's always, someone always presents a scenario where you're like, that seems insane, and we always inevitably put it out to the listeners, and there's always 2, 3, 4, 5 people who've experienced that exact thing and can offer the advice to the person that has asked the question.
So it's basically a community. It's a forum.
It's amazing, it's and I'm very thankful for all the eggheads out there.
That's awesome. That's really, really cool.
When you finally do have a kid, when that kid gets old enough to go, "Oh God, listen to what you say," you're gonna be like, "Do you have any fucking idea?"
I always think
What
about
we went
that.
through.
I always think about the fact that like I can't imagine if I had hours upon hours. We've done 60 some odd episodes of this show, and I can't imagine having hours and hours of my parents like going through anything, let alone trying to conceive me, and just like their ups and downs. And like Dory and I get really real on that show, and it's just like I just wonder how that kid, knock on wood, we get one, how that kid will respond. This is the only room that I could knock on literally anything. It's fucking wood.
there's wood.
How that kid will respond to like hearing that.
Yeah. We should. When you do have a kid, you should name it Debt.
I'm out right now. We'll see. See if that lasts.
It'll be interesting to see if because I'm sure when it finally happens, you will feel a great sense of relief. But I would also,
and that it owes me something.
Well, I'm not even joking. Like I would make sure. Are you in therapy?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because I think a small part of you might also resent a little bit everything that you went through to make that kid. There might be a little bit.
Always think about that. I also always give it advice while on the podcast. Occasionally, I'll be like, now, you're probably listening to this, and I just want to say you cost us a lot of money. And if you don't play left-handed guitar, we're really fucked. Like, I tell it. I give advice to my future child on
That's
the podcast,
funny.
so hopefully they eventually listen.
Well, if they're right-handed, then you can just leave them all the guitars to sell, and that's basically their that'll be their nest egg.
Yeah.
Because all those fucking guitars are
Too many.
too many guitars. What other what good stuff for you, Jonah Ray?
Much like Matt, thankful for my wife. She was Deanna was solid gold during the process of flying to Hawaii with me and being there and like just like helping. Like she helped me, like the Monday after he died. Like we went to the funeral home and did all the forms, and she was there because I was like a little spaced out the whole time, and so she was there to like really do it. And she's like been, solid, just completely. And like, I'm just, really stoked to be her husband and really, proud of her and thankful that she's like, I can't imagine it being too easy. Just like, just because like the mood swings, it's like, it's like, I'll just like shut down sometimes and just like not want to do anything or not like, not feel like even just interacting with her, but she's like, keeps it positive and, and that can't be easy at all to just like, oh, okay, now you're okay. You're this way. All right, well, sweet. Well, what do you want for dinner? What, I'll make the decision. Stuff like that. She's good at that. So that was like, that was the shine being. I'm thinking for my mom getting to know not getting to know my mom better, but like seeing her like emerge as a fuller person. My dad, he didn't demand the attention, but he really wanted the attention.
He absorbed a lot of
yeah, exactly. And so, she seeing her like making decisions and doing what she wants to do, and
You're also like both getting to know your mother, together.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really crazy to get to know your parents as an adult, like
Yeah.
but to know them as people. Like oh yeah, you were just people who got knocked up and had all this other responsibility. It's like that is a real strange point in a person's life to just go, you're just a person.
Yeah, and I don't think it's like I think that was like a thing that bugged me about my dad is that like it's like he wanted to be dad and he wanted to be like infallible and like he didn't want to seem like he wanted to like it's like my mom was saying it's like he'd like you guys would show up or you'd call and like he'd put on a whole like happy face thing and like everything's great. What are you talking like it's like where he would never really be that honest.
Sure.
And I think that was like a weird thing to kind of like, I always kind of had a feeling that, he was a little like, but either way, the thankful stuff, like, my mom for sure, like getting to know her again, I helped her, get a car yesterday,
that's
like,
awesome.
it's like, and then she's, very thankful for that. And that's been really cool. And, I am thankful for like, my dad, like, like the idea that like it's a knowing now it's like he didn't really like the idea that I was pursuing entertainment. Like he like hated the fact that I didn't go to school or college or anything like that. Like he was but like he didn't show it to a point where it made me want to stop or it's a
right.
So it's like for better or worse what he did put me in a place where he was like my number one fan. And so like, he was like, when the good stuff happened, he was always very good. And of course he had those dad moments of like, when I'm talking about working on MST, he's like, well, maybe hopefully that'll work out for you,
right.
That kind of stuff. But it's, he just wanted, he wanted me to be safe. He wanted me to like, like not, he didn't want to happen to me what happened to him, which is like, he, put his eggs in the basket of his dad's company. And then when the company crumbled, he had nothing.
Right.
So it's like, he was worried about that. But like, he didn't show it as much as like he felt it, which is like, huge when you're like, when any of us started doing the stuff we're doing now, it's, there's so much inside of you telling you to stop because of how ridiculous the idea is. Like the 1 in a million shot of being able to become successful in entertainment. It's like there's just constant, doubt inside you. And so when someone's like doubtful towards, you doing it too, it's more crushing, It's like when they go, are you sure? It's like they may be just saying it and not even thinking about it, but it's like,
Fuck, I hate that question.
Yeah, exactly. The floor just drops out below.
I get angry when people ask me that question, like irrationally angry when you say something, go, oh, are you sure you want? Like, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I really do think about things.
Yeah.
I don't just whimsically throw shit at, like, oh, I don't, I think, what do you want for dinner? I think I'm going to get a salad. Are you sure? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like, it just, because it's the other person saying, like, to me, and I know it's just someone trying to take extra care of you.
Yes.
But I read it as they don't trust that you have the capability to make a decision.
Yeah.
And so that question drives me off a fucking wall.
Yeah, it's real. It's not. It's
Yes,
not
I'm sure.
to do. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm positive.
Yes, please. Let's move on before I change my mind.
Are you really sure? Yes, I am really sure.
And then all the I'm also thankful for like all the Misties were like, it was when the show came out, it's like there was negative stuff, of course.
Didn't really see that.
Well, it's like, there was a little bit in it, but like the overwhelming positive nature of it was like mind blowing to me. It is funny because I can't remember, it was like birthmoviesdeath.com or something like that said, like when they announced the second season, they're like, although like met with mixed reviews, and then like all the comments were on the article were like, what are you talking about mixed reviews? It was almost ultimately positive. It's like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I know. I just, like, everyone's always got to make it, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Everyone's got to throw a little negativity in there. I mean, it just...
Yeah, exactly. But like, it's like to be embraced by a community that, I was very much like once like a part of and still am, but like, it's like, like all the Misties online and the way they interact, it was just, and all the ones I met on the tour, it was like, it made that really hard tour like really worth it. And, it's and it was really cool. Like, it was cool for my mom and dad to see that. To like to see pictures, they were like looking up the hashtag on Instagram and seeing pictures of people with me. Like, they got to, it's like my friend Donald, who, I've known since I was 5 years old. He like, he had a hard time with my dad's death, like real hard time too. Cause his parents are in their 80s and he's like, how did your dad die before, my parents? And so he was having a hard time, but then he kind of like, he said, here, this is what's been making me feel better is that, he's like, if there's never a good time to die. It's never like, it's never, it's never like, ooh, nailed it. There's never that. It's
Dismount.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I've always thought about it too. Everyone's like the untimely death. It's like, oh, what was it like? Maybe a week later would have been a timely death.
Yeah. Boy, if you could have just waited till Friday.
Yeah, exactly. Then swish. But like he said, like there's never a good time to die. But like if your dad was to go, because he would have eventually. Everyone does. If he was, it's like what a year to go out on. Like it's like he got to see his son. Like who, through his passion, like buy a house, get on the show that he was obsessed with as a kid, be married, like be happy, get the fans that, he's always wanted. And then like, for his other son, he got to see him get married, got to see it like a grandchild, because Adam's kid got a kid, so it's like, so if there was a year for him to go out on, like, he's like, that's like a banner year for any parent, I think.
Yeah.
And so that made me feel really good. So.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, there isn't really a good time.
Yeah.
There's never a really good time. But, when I think about how if my dad had lived a lot longer, I worry because both my grandparents had dementia well into, my grandfather in his 80s and my grandmother in her 90s.
My grandmother's got it right now.
And I know he wouldn't have wanted to have gotten to that point, and it would have been. So it's not. I'm not happy that he died. I'm happy that he never had to.
Yeah.
That he just, of ways to go, getting hit with a heart attack or a stroke or like just in one quick like flicking off a switch.
We talked about
is
that,
a fucking gift.
Yeah.
Because Lydia's dad had cancer for 8 years, and they had to watch it happen. And and our whole first date was about how our dads died within a month of each other.
Oh shit! Really?
And
Sexy.
And I always say that. And then I always say that. Wow, we do fundamentally understand. Like we connect on that one level. But I said I have no sense of what that must have been like.
Talking to other friends. I mean, we talked about that too. Like about the lights out thing, which is like, it's anytime you talk to someone that their dad died of cancer or anyone died of cancer, it's like, it seems harder, like,
of course.
It's like, we're just left with the aftermath. But like to feel that dread, that creeping dread for so long has got to be really fucking gnarly.
Real depressing Hostful podcast, you guys. Way to end the year.
Yeah.
I had to pull the car over. Not happy.
Yeah.
It wasn't as depressing as it could have been. We could have talked about current events.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
The fuck is going on in the world? Everyone's a goddamn monster. But I am excited that I just hope people understand that as many horrible things that are going on in the news that is not the full scope of life. That there are good things and there are happy things, and sometimes you got to look for them, and sometimes you have to work for them. But if you don't, you will fucking go nuts, or you'll just create that depression on your couch or your bed, which is oddly metaphorical.
The depression.
The depression.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of really great things. I'm also incredibly thankful for Lydia and just how incredible. It just seems crazy. It just seems crazy to me that someone could be that cool and patient and tolerant, and when she. And sometimes I just don't believe it.
You're an abused puppy, my friend.
I've tried to write a bit about it. Yeah, but I abuse myself the most. I try to write a bit about it, but I think it's just not that funny. But we'll wake up and she'll go, "I love you so much," and I'm like, "You don't sound well. Should we get you to a doctor?" Because it's so hard for me to believe. Yeah, it's hard for me to believe it. But yeah, I mean, just could not be more thankful. Could not be more thankful for her. And there's a lot of fun, work stuff going on for next year. We're going to do the festival again.
Yes.
But we're going to do it. We're going to move it to the Orange County Fairgrounds.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Wow.
The shoreline was great, and we're not trying to exclude anyone in Northern California, but the shoreline is. There's a couple reasons. The shoreline is also incredibly expensive venue, which is great. I mean, it's great, and it did. Our festival did great, but there's a lot of stress.
Yeah,
and also the dates we wanted to do around the same date range, and they weren't available. So it's like, well, then do we move it later in the year? And then the more I thought about it, the more it seemed like, oh well, if we're having comedians there and like TV and film panels, wouldn't it be better to have it closer to Los Angeles?
Yeah,
so
exactly. Less travel costs.
Yeah, and the shoreline. I mean, the Orange County Fairgrounds is a fucking great venue. There's like all these pavilions.
Yeah.
And I may have told you this, but I sold the sitcom to NBC.
Yeah.
You did tell us this, but we're still going to clap on the podcast and pretend we haven't heard about it.
That's insane.
Yeah, it was about 7 weeks ago. Our manager, Alex Murray, said, hey, you should pitch a sitcom this year. It's almost time. It's almost like the end of the pitching season. I was like, okay. And so I reached out to David X. Cohen, who's the showrunner for Futurama, writer on The Simpsons, because we had become friends since we did the Nerdist Futurama
that's right.
Collaboration. And I was like, hey, do you want to pitch a sitcom? And he's like, well, I'm working on a thing with Matt right now. I'm going to be done at the end of the year. And I go, well, let's just try it. And he said, okay. So, we came up with an idea, got a little Google Doc going, put it together, pitched it, sold it. So now we're going to be in the way it works is, you turn in an outline of the pilot, then they approve that, then you write a script, and if they approve that, then you shoot a pilot, and then they approve that. So there's a lot of runway.
But that's a huge thing.
But it's very exciting, and writing with David, especially because we'll kick character stuff back and forth, and I'll go, yeah, that's kind of like a Bender thing. I'm like, oh my God, you're the... And it just sort of like,
That's cool.
It just sort of like tweaks my brain a little bit.
Maybe it'll time up to where when Matt leaves the Goldbergs, he just moves on to your show.
Interesting.
Producer level by then. Sounds great.
Interesting.
Writer's assistant.
Oh, that's weird. I'll take a. That's
I don't make the rules.
Well, Jonah, at least you're here to enforce them.
Yes. If that's
It'll make them
my job.
to make them just enforce them.
Yeah.
And then just a public service announcement for people. Just a little public service. I'm not a great sleeper. No problem falling asleep. Can't stay asleep. My wife bought these canisters of this stuff called Calm, which is a powder that you put in water.
Enunciate it just a bit more.
Calm. Calm.
Yeah. So you open this bottle, you just spray it all over your face.
We had, before you get to calm,
Yeah.
that reminded me of the way you pronounce that. We had, last week, I was on set all week, and we had Clancy Brown
Oh, he's great.
fucking playing the shop teacher, doing a bunch of like double entendre stuff, and he's up there with the butt joint, trying to seal his butt joint with caulk. And the
Cock block?
the way that this man acts, it is so beautifully serious. It's one of the funniest things I've seen.
Clancy Brown is fucking phenomenal.
I don't know that cock is gonna get into the ABC cut, but it's there, and it was just joyful. But calm.
And just, again, Clancy Brown, literally, he's in The Punisher, you know, he was in The Flash, he's been in so many things, and every time you watch him, he's fucking great at whatever it is that he's doing, whatever animated voice he's doing, whatever, you know, he was on SpongeBob, like, no matter what he's doing, Clancy Brown deserves a fucking Emmy Lifetime Achievement.
He has a lengthy monologue in the principal's office with Tobolowsky about the fact that he respects Woody's the shop teacher because he spent 3 years in a bamboo cage. It's
All right, so calm. It's magnesium, which is supposed to relax you naturally. So I was taking this, started to sleep great. Then Thanksgiving was also my birthday. Lydia made her first, what she calls it, her first unsupervised Thanksgiving dinner. And it was fucking incredible. And
Did we miss your birthday?
yeah, it was November 23rd. It was
it
Thanksgiving.
was Thanksgiving Day.
But it's easy
You've
to
been
get
through
obscured by Thanksgiving. I don't care. It's fine. I didn't even do anything this year. We had Thanksgiving dinner, and
Yeah.
a bunch of people came
Usually,
over.
I feel like usually I'm on top of that.
No, it's totally
At
fine.
least a text.
Totally fine.
Sorry.
So I haven't been eating. I gave up chives. I haven't been eating any sugar because my cholesterol is weirdly really high, and so I gave up most. You know, I'm not on a paleo diet, but I'm not eating like excessive sugar. So I haven't eaten dessert. So it was like red velvet cake in the shape of a turkey that was really phenomenal. Shout out to Delicious Arts. Donuts from Blue Star Donuts, like tea cakes, all these foods. The next morning, I had the kind of diarrhea that I was convinced that at the end Augustus Gloop was going to fall out.
The red velvet will do it, my friend.
Yes. And I was like, I can't believe this. I can't eat desserts ever again because I just hadn't eaten it for so long. So it got better, came back, persisted to the point where I'm like, something is wrong. I don't know what it is. I'm having a severe, I think I need to go get a colonoscopy. I think something is wrong. You know, there's a lot of softness going on, not without going into too much detail. So a couple days ago, I have to take a red eye to New York to do an event for NBC. I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Just, the waterworks are on, guys.
Oh, boy.
And I just have this weird thought. I'm like, I don't know what else is going on in my life. I don't do anything that should warrant this or high cholesterol.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that I get worked up. So
I don't follow.
take it down, Clovey. So on a whim, because I can't sleep, because it's now 5:15 in the morning, I go, I wonder if this calm stuff has anything to do. So I look it up. Magnesium, a natural laxative.
Oh.
The very thing, ironically, that has kept me calm and sleeping for the past couple of weeks is the very thing that has turned my body into a Vesuvian shitmare. So I'm just giving people a little heads up that if you're doing a band on the runs,
Yeah.
if you are also taking magnesium anywhere in your diet, that the slightly too much magnesium can do that to your body.
Wow. You know, if you were worried about not having a worse story than my dad dying, worry no longer. You win, Hardwick.
I don't win with that. No one wins with that story. No, literally no one wins with that story.
Yeah.
But I just wanted people to be aware because it's, like I really thought something, as I often do, I thought something was horribly wrong with me, and it was just and I stopped taking it, and within 2 days, fine.
That's funny.
Still got the ringing in the ear, but that's getting
Back to
better.
your rabbit pellets.
Yeah.
I imagine you poop
That was
like
really,
a rabbit.
there was a Portlandia sketch where there was like, I think something like they call like a doctor.
Oh, the
There's
beats?
something really wrong with me. I don't know. It looks really bad. Like, was it beets? I'm sorry. Did you have any beets? Oh, yes, I did. Yes, you're right. And then like it pulls out and they're next to a toilet, like looking in the toilet bowl.
Oh, I love that show.
Yeah.
I miss that show.
Yeah, it's good.
All right. Well, I love you both. I hope everyone is not too upset by any of the things that were mentioned or we talked about. We love you. We thank you for singing with you going into year 8 next year.
Wow. Yeah, coming
of
up
the podcast.
on year 8.
Fucking nuts. And
Good God.
hope to see you guys more. And I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for not just the things you're achieving, but for the people that you have become and grown into. And I'm proud of and thankful that all of our wives put up with our dumb fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
It's really
Day
remarkable.
in, day out, week after week.
Yeah. Thanks
Gotta-
for Katie, too, for putting up with our...
And Katie Levine is a fucking superstar who deserves also an Emmy. I don't know how that really fits into the rules. People do say, like, when are you going to have Katie on the podcast? I have offered. She has declined. She just doesn't seem to want to be on the podcast. But you know, at some point, you should fully sit in on a Hostful podcast. Will you do that?
Okay.
Finally? In the very beginning, you didn't even like doing the intros. But now it's old. Now
She's a pro.
it's old hat. How was your year, Katie?
She knows she's not on mic because she's listening to us, and she's probably.
It was all right.
Oh, there we go.
It was fine.
Just all right?
Yeah. Nothing too exciting.
But any sports things happen that you're excited about?
No, all my teams suck.
Yep.
Like hardcore.
Excited about
so.
that.
You got Jimmy Garoppolo now.
Yeah, and we won on 5 field goals
You're
today.
welcome.
You upset about that Pontiac Dome that won't go down?
They keep trying to blow it up, and
Yep.
it just is standing. still.
Yeah. And someone said, like, guess we built it too well.
There's a great YouTube account, Bright Sun Films. He does an abandoned of the Pontiac Silvertone. That's really a treat to watch. A lot of
Katie,
YouTube recommendations.
What are you
during
looking
Katie's
for?
time.
Yeah, well, you're on fucking planes all the time, and you don't sleep a lot of the time. So.
JetBlue, by the way, best Wi-Fi I've ever had on a plane.
Really?
It's fucking amazing, gate to gate, and you can stream full quality Amazon Prime the whole time.
Holy shit. Good to know. So, Katie, 2018, what are you excited about?
I don't know. Shit.
Great. All right. Perfect.
I have nothing to say. I was not prepared to talk, like, whatsoever.
Okay, shit. I recommend magnesium.
Yes. Magnesium will help fulfill all
As soon
of
as
your
you
poop
said that,
dreams.
I was like, oh, that's just, like, as soon as I started taking magnesium, I was like, oh, that's just going to make you poop.
I didn't know that. Why didn't you tell me that? Even though you didn't know I was taking it. And I was really, because the back of the container says start with a teaspoon, work your way up to 2 teaspoons. So I was just like really shoveling it in there, thinking I'm gonna sleep great. And my brain was relaxed, but it made my body
Just
anxious.
take some Z-Quil, you'll be fine.
I can't take that
Why not?
because it has alcohol in it.
Get a weighted blanket.
That's-
Even the pills of Z-Quil?
I think that's part of the. Isn't that? Or no, it has diphenhydramine. I can't take. I think it's diphenhydramine. I can't take that stuff because I don't take anything. It's interesting because when I went to see my ear, nose, and throat guy because of the ear ringing, and I was like, it's really freaking me out. He gave me Xanax and I didn't take it. I got the prescription filled because weirdly I was like, well, I don't intend to take it, but just knowing that I had it made me
common.
feel better.
Yeah.
And I was never a pill guy, so if I had to take it, I don't feel like it would violate my sobriety or anything, but I just was like, well, I'll see if I can not take it. And I never did. But I just can't, I can't take any kind of medication like that because I'm so sensitive. I would feel it in my system for days.
Mm-hmm.
For days.
Well, over Christmas break, I'd like you to try some.
You know, when I first got sober, I was taking Tylenol PM to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And then I stopped taking it for a while, and I took it again a couple of months later, and it felt like a hangover, and it was so unpleasant
wow.
to me that I couldn't.
Gotcha.
It was the sense memory of it was too much, and I couldn't take it. So I don't take anything.
Yeah.
I take melatonin, and that's it. And I thought this calm stuff was the old.
The way to do it.
But anyway, we hope you enjoy your burrito. I know it feels like dark times out there, but there are light times too. So I love you all. And Well,
Proud of you too, Chris.
Get out.
Yeah, no, you're a lot more. This is gonna sound like a retroactive insult, but but like it's like you have a more positive, like a true positive, calm demeanor to you, like the past a couple years, and it's.
I think that's all Lydia. I don't even think I could take credit for that.
very possible, but
He is more of a human being.
Yeah. It's like even Deanna. She's like the times that you run into her, she's like Chris seems like so much better. He seems like he's in a really good place. So
Yeah, I'm excited for my life, not just because of all the fun work stuff, but first and foremost because of my partner. You know, like I can't imagine. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's when I look back and I just sort of think now, she's just such a great, wonderful person and such a great stabilizing force. I really don't know what she gets out of me, but I do adore her and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So that's been pretty amazing too.
yeah,
So,
it shows. It's definitely had a positive effect on you.
Well, all right, everyone. Have a great end of your year, and we'll see you.
You'll hear us later. Hear us later.
Hear us later.
Hear us later, Aces later.
Listen
Now-
listen later.
Listen later.
Now and later.
Now and later.
Here's some now. Say
Talk
something
at
for
you later.
Laffy taffy, baby giraffe.
Zap,
Oh.
zab,
Abba zabba.
Yabba zabba.
Zuba
Yabba
zibi.
dabba. Yabba zabba.
Zabba zabba.
Yabba zabba. Do it. Just do it. Jurassic Park.
Evil.
Misa 2.
Where is my croissant? Enjoy your burrito. Enjoy your ham and cheese croissant.
If they have it.
Now leaving Nerdist.com. Enjoy your burrito.